Hey, good afternoon. Well, it's morning where you are.
It's 11-ish. Okay. So first of all, people ask me all the time about like, do you hang out with like YouTubers? And the answer is no. But there are lots of but there are lots of YouTubers whose like work I really respect and appreciate, and you're one of them. And so
Oh,
I just wanted to connect.
I really appreciate that. Means a lot. I am not gonna lie. I was like super nervous this morning. I was like, oh my gosh, am I gonna wake up too late? Everything. I really look up to you and I really respect everything. I've been watching you for years, so this truly means a lot.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, so I'm always interested in people's journeys. Like, it is a lot to become like an internet person. So, like, what got you to being an internet person with the website and the YouTube channel and all that?
Honestly, I've always been like an internet person.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was like known on MySpace back in like 2000 and what was like 2014, 2005 or whatever. I've always been told that I was going to be a comedian. I'm like, I can't do that because that means speaking in front of a lot of people, and I have social anxiety. But I would have never known that the internet would change how comedians are, like a new era of comedians. So I just started complaining about things on YouTube. I had got out of the army. I was in.
Same.
I was complaining about random things that were going on in my life. I was in the army, unfortunately, and I had just got back from a tour in Iraq, and I had purchased a MacBook, and I said I'm gonna start doing a couple of lives because my friend, he was doing YouTube videos, and he said you need to do them on YouTube. So I started to do them, and people were actually interested in what I had to say, and I was like, I don't know why, but started off that. I started doing Loving Hip Hop reviews, then Real Housewives of Atlanta, then other things. Started talking about politics, even though my politics was not where it's at now.
Right.
And in that, I was able to find community of people who were, you know, like having conversations with me, telling me like, no, this ain't it. Like, you need to read this, you need to check this out. Like, your platform is growing too much for you to be out here not knowing what you're talking about. So that continued on for some time. And then back in 2015, I made a decision to move to Atlanta from Memphis. I said, I'm just going to just let everything go. I'm gonna let everything go. I decided to not to pay my rent for the month. I said I'm just gonna let I'm just gonna see what it is and how it's like how like I'm gonna take a chance.
Yeah.
And that chance ended up working out for me. Like I would have never guessed that I will be where I'm at now.
Okay, so there's a couple of things here. So one thing that I picked up on is like somebody challenging you on your politics and you being like, "Oh, I'm fucked up. Like, let me reassess some things." So like, what is that process?
So it was an ongoing process. One of my
Yeah.
really close friends, he actually introduced me to you. His name was Aaron. Me and he was in the Navy as well, and he would just tell me like we would have conversations about he would watch me, and I was talking about Black Lives Matter. I was in the army, and I was around a lot of white folks who were like racist,
Yeah.
and I never will forget when the Trayvon Martin situation happened. I think that was like the check for me, and I was giving commentary on it, and like I was so upset because I was dealing with a lot of trauma with myself, with dealing with like cis hetero black men from being bullied throughout my life as like being femme and being queer, that I hated black men. And he
Mm.
told me, he challenged me. He said, "You need to really think about that. You need to get that together because that is changing how you see what is going on with everything that's going on in the world." So in that process, like I was like, "No, this is what the truth is. This is what the truth. I know what I'm talking about." But he wasn't the only one that was letting me know. So I started to get into some things and started to unpack things that I was dealing with. And it took a lot of work, but I am so appreciative of it because it is important for me to, be out here having these conversations with my audience and actually providing them with real information instead of my feelings. Like my
Yeah.
feelings towards black men is just not enough.
Totally. You know what? Ooh, I love that you brought this up because I think about this a lot about are my politics originating from a place of trauma? So
Hmm.
obviously, I'm a black woman who loves black women, and I hate misogyny, hate misogynoir, like hate the kind of violences that straight black men perpetuate. And I want to be able to call that out. But I also want to make sure that as I am calling that out, like that I'm not just operating from fuck them niggas from 2011, right? Like, and so that requires constant checks.
Yes, that's what I was dealing with, like constantly and I did that publicly with everybody watching me. Like I have some problematic videos that are still up. But I think the thing with me, with other people, is I'm able to have these conversations because people have seen my growth over time. Like they've seen where I come from. So you can't pull up a video from 2012 that I have not talked about in 2018. Like I've had that conversation of where I was, and I'm not going to ever delete some of those videos because I want people to know that this is if I came from this, you can too.
Yeah. You know what? I say this all the time. Like, I wouldn't have these politics. Like, I wouldn't be a feminist if I did not think that change were possible. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't even make sense to like be advocating so much in like deconstruction and remaking and rebuilding if I thought that everyone and everything was stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so and also like my politics have changed too. Like just from 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. So I appreciate people who can acknowledge that. Okay. Somebody mentioned in the comments, like, calling out versus calling in. Do you think that one of those are more effective, or is it just like situational?
I think it's situational. I think that someone that you don't have any connection with, it is kind of hard for you to listen. Like if it took someone that I like cared about and someone I respected for them to call me out and call me in. Like if it's someone that I don't care about or someone I don't know, I'm going to look at it as like you're hating on me. I think that's the thing that's going on with celebrities now, is that they're in their own bubble. So everybody else that's calling them out is a hater because they're not making the money or don't have the resources and access they have. So it's just like everything y'all doing is hateful versus someone being in their circle and calling them in and saying, no, sis, this is the issue. And I've had people tell me that. I never forget, before I came out as HIV positive, one of my friends was working in the field in New York, and he watched my videos. We weren't cool at the time. And he's like, I saw you made a joke about HIV on Twitter, and I just don't think that is helpful for folks who are living with HIV. He wasn't HIV positive, but he's not HIV positive, but he was calling me in.
Yeah.
And that changed. That was back in, I think, 2012. And I'm just so thankful for me to be able to have someone to reach out to me and tell me these things, because I've been able to make so many people who are living with HIV feel comfortable watching me.
Yeah.
So when that was the goal. Like I was hurting people that I didn't even know existed.
Was it difficult for you to make the decision to go public with your status as an HIV positive man?
Yes, I think it was difficult for a couple of my friends. It was like, it's not everybody's business. Like everybody doesn't need to know. But I was like, for me to be doing the work that I'm doing, I need to create an environment where folks, like I'm 100% comfortable in talking about it. I can't be having a conversation about PrEP and this and that. And then people ask me, so why are you on PrEP? And then I get into this, well, I can't be on PrEP because I am positive.
Right.
But when I tested positive, I knew eventually I was going to come out and talk about it publicly. I just knew it was going to take some time, because there is no going back into the closet. Once I came out, I had to deal with all of the negative, the stigma and stuff that comes with it. So I said I had to prepare myself mentally to be able to deal with that.
Okay, so this is another thing, because I do think it's valuable to share personal experiences and to share traumas and just like things that you're going through. But then when your shit is on the street, like when it's out, right? Like people throw that back in your face, right? And like, it's not just that they throw it back in your face, like they go on the message boards and they create fake Twitter accounts and they're in your Instagram DMs.
And you have whole lipstick alley threads. Oh my gosh.
Yes, like I fucking know. So how do you deal, or like, does that stuff make you more hesitant to share and be open and vulnerable? Because I find myself sometimes being like, I'm not saying that in public. Like, I'm not giving the fucking lipstick outros any more
You're not
shit.
giving no more ammunition. So I think one of the most stressful times for me ever on the internet was back in 2016 when there was a bunch of like internal drama in the YouTube community. And it really was like so bad that I did not want it to be on. I didn't want to create any more content. I was like, girl, I don't want to share this with none of y'all. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
But in that process, I started to realize that a lot of people are dealing with some of the things that I was dealing with, like, struggling to be able to pay, rent, dealing with eviction, finding an apartment after being evicted, credit problems, this and that. And I was like, everybody is dealing with these things. I don't want to come on here and present myself as somebody that is not real. Like, I want to be relatable. I think that's the number one thing that people love about me is that I'm relatable. I don't care about sharing. And I've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
I've been through some stuff like 2 years ago, when I came out as HIV positive. People didn't know that I was living in a motel for 3 months. Like, I was experiencing housing insecurity. And when I finally came out and talked about that publicly, a lot of people were able to relate to that and didn't feel like the stigma, like we're starting to undo the stigma of, because this is something that a lot of us are close to. We're one paycheck away from experiencing these things. So we need to talk about these so we can help other folks who are experiencing as well.
Yeah. What about sharing relationship stuff? Because I've seen you like talk about like booze occasionally, and I assume that has those situations. Okay, all right,
He's walking around. He's walking around here now.
Okay. So, how do you navigate like what to share publicly about your romantic relationships, and then what to keep quiet?
That is one of those tricky things because I think I do recognize the currency in like being in a relationship. You post those cute little pictures and everybody is so in love with, oh my gosh, you get campaigns coming to you. Ain't no telling how many, folks, medications and pharmaceutical companies coming. I want to promote y'all and I want to do this and that. But if me and him go through a bad situation or a breakup or something, am I going to be able to recover from that?
Right.
And that's something that's always in my mind because I don't want to feel like I have to stay in this partnership for everybody else and the currency that comes with it. So I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit more out there, but I have toned it back. He's kind of behind the scenes. He don't like to be in front of the camera like that with me anyway. But
that's the best kind of man.
Let me tell you, that is one of the things that I am like, when I was dating, was one of the things I need to pay attention to, even with friendships, because I've had situations where somebody who I thought was like a really, really close friend got upset because I was out in public and people stopped and spoke to me, wanted to take pictures. And they were like turned off by that. They walked away. I was like, you don't understand that your negative attitude towards that will reflect on me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not a situation like I don't want these folks to interrupt our time and stuff, but you got to find a way to be respectful. So this was the first person I've ever dated that was not like that. I never forget when we went on a date. He was very like, yeah, I took the picture. I was like, this is important to me because this is my life. And I don't want anybody that I'm in a friendship with or a partnership or a relationship with to be disrespectful to the people who enjoy my content.
Okay, so speaking of content, I get a lot of criticism about why do you hate everything? Why are you so negative? Why is everybody on the internet so negative? And I will acknowledge that the videos talking shit, like, do better than the other stuff, right? Like, I want to, for myself, like, try to have a little bit of balance. But, like, people do like to consume people tearing shit down. So, like, how do you navigate that content-wise?
That's one of those difficult ones. I got a little bit better with the balance, but I feel like I'm consuming so much that I have to pick and choose. Is this worth talking about?
Yeah.
Like, is this going to do anything if I have a conversation about? I think there has to be some type of balance, but people do enjoy that type of content. People love when I'm fired up and I'm opinionated and I'm talking about something, they love it. Those be the most viewed videos.
Yes. And can I also say, I'm not even sure if like balance is the word. Like, I think balance might be overrated. Like, I will just say for myself, I make stuff about the things that I feel passionately about. And often that is stuff that makes me angry.
See, that's I'm glad you said that, because that's how I feel. Like, I don't think people understand, when I get through doing the video and I said all I wanted to say, I feel relieved.
Yeah.
Like, once I editing this up, I'm like, girl, I feel it. But some people think I'm still carrying the energy. I'm like, no, I talked about it. I got it out, because that was what I was doing before I started recording. I would literally be in the void by myself, going off about something I just seen. The only thing is I'm turning the camera on. Well, I'm not, like, I'm recording this with friends. Well, I'm having a conversation with friends about it. And like, this time it's just a camera in front of me. But once this conversation is done, I'm not angry. I received that too, but I think, of course, women receive that. Like, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so this is why I like talking to internet people, because I think people have a difficult time understanding that I can get passionate and fired up, honestly, about a lot of stuff, right? So I can get as passionate about, like, was Blackout Britney's best album, as I get about the fact that this country, like, our healthcare system is fucking killing people every day, and the wealthy people in Congress don't give a shit, right? Like, I can be animated in the same way. Obviously, those are not of equal importance, but I say that to say that I can put it out and then step away and be fine. And people are like, you're gonna give yourself a heart attack, like you.
Oh,
I'm
like, me that all the time.
I'm fine. I'm great. Thank you so much
for asking.
Yes.
People do that to me as well, and I'm honestly, I think that this is, like, I consider the content I create as a diary. Like, this is my video diary of how I'm feeling, and honestly, it's been very therapeutic for me. Just talking about things that are going on, because I can always go back and think and see what I was thinking 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And does it fit with the times now? Am I still, like, what's going on? So when I go to the doctor, they check my blood pressure. High blood pressure does run in my family, but honestly, I don't have it. And I think it's because I find ways to vent that are healthy for me.
Right. All right. So you also talk about some social justice stuff that I think in a particularly fascinating way. So something I've seen you talk about on your Twitter account is your relationship to the military and military experience, and the kinds of unnuanced ways that a lot of progressives talk about Black people in particular, poor people in particular, who choose to enlist. And so, like, how do you navigate having those kinds of conversations with people who are like, imperialism, violence,
war criminal?
Yes.
It's been difficult. Like, this has been going on for, like, at least 2 years. And I bumped heads with some really close friends about it. And I have some friends who are very progressive, very to the left, who have also revealed to me that they are veterans. And, that's not something they're proud of. But like I said, like you said earlier, I think that there is it's a missing a conversation of how this happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, this was an ongoing thing before I even knew it. Like, when I was in high school, JROTC, you either had to do that or you did gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even want to go to gym, but I'm going to do it. But they were testing us for ASVAB. Like, you couldn't opt out on it. I think you had to probably have your parents or something, sign a waiver or something. But it was like being forced in me. Like,
Yes.
I grew up in one of the poorest parts of Memphis, and one of the poorest schools. Like, I thought everybody went to a school that was missing books and the books were torn. Like, I thought that was everybody's experience when I was in middle school and high school. So when I finally I didn't test well on the ACT, I only made a 16. I just was not a high performing student. Like, I was just very in and out. And when I finally graduated high school, I applied to a couple of colleges and universities. I did get accepted. I got accepted to a community college, but I did not. My parents made too much money for me to get any grants and stuff. So I had to take out loans and all that. So it was like stressful because I was trying to work and go to school. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm just going to like let me enlist like this. Let me enlist because this seems to be the only thing that is going to help me out.
Yeah.
And they got me with a $20,000 bonus to one of the deadliest jobs at the time, which was a truck driver. And around
Yeah.
that time, like they were heavily making like going into black communities, trying to get black folks to sign up for the $20,000 bonus for this dangerous job because $20,000 is a lot of money
Right.
to some people.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And that is like what I think is so interesting is like, how does your institutional analysis evaporate when it comes to how poor folks, people of color, are coerced into these systems, like corralled into these systems? It is a little bit strange. It's not a Pete Buttigieg situation. Like that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how they not only did they get me with a $20,000 bonus, it ended up not really being that much because they split up between two payments, and you got the first 10,000, you know, after you got back from basic training and completed it. Then you got the other one 3 years from now. But I don't think what some people don't understand is when you sign up, it is very hard to get out. That
Mm-hmm.
it's not a situation where like a police officer or a sheriff where you can just resign, you can quit. If you do, just a chance you're going to probably go to jail, or
Right.
you're probably not going to be able to find a job because if you get dishonorably discharged, when people run your stuff, they see that,
Yeah.
and it's like you're messed up. Like, and it's already too late by the
Yes.
time people get into this, have this conversation about, you know, how trash the military is. It's already too late, and
Right.
people really do not, to me, don't have a choice,
Mm-hmm.
especially
Mm-hmm.
when they're
And these are
offering free health.
teenagers. These are
Yes,
young people. Yeah.
yes, and that's what I'm seeing. Like I've actually had conversations with a lot of, you know, teenagers who have said, "I think I'm going to sign up," but I've heard you talk about it on your channel, but I don't see any other way out. And my thing is always like, I'm not going to tell you to not sign up. Like I'm not going to tell you to not sign up. You do what's best for you and your situation,
Yeah.
because I don't have the means to be able to keep you from not signing up.
Right.
And I think that's the most important. Can we provide these people with an option other than them being on the streets, because that's what's going to happen to a lot of folks.
Yes. Yes. That's I think about this a lot, right? Like, we all have these deeply held convictions about capitalism and how people make money and what people do to survive, but you ain't opening up your home, though. You're not giving, what mutual aid projects are you participating in, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, like in these systems, we are all left to fend for ourselves, and people are just trying to figure it out the best way that they can.
Yeah, and then they're also fighting, like they are fighting white supremacy because they've already come into this notion that you like this is what you need to do. You need to serve your country. You need to be a part of this. Like that is already in my brain. So I don't think that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
I did not think it was a bad idea. I didn't realize the harm. I didn't know what imperialism was. I was still going to a school that was calling Native Americans Indians.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like when you think about all the things were being taught to me. By the time I signed up, I was already gone.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about fat phobia, because this is another thing that you talk about, and also that has the conversation around the intersection between your sexuality and fat phobia. Like, that is an interesting thing for me. I've learned a lot from the ways that I've seen you talk about it.
I appreciate
Yeah, for real. So, like, I also see you like fighting with the fat phobic trolls on Twitter a lot. Like,
that. And
so like,
it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot sometimes. I think this year it has been the first time that I actually taken a break from Twitter. I've taken a break from Twitter for like 3 times this year,
yeah,
and I've never done that. I've been on Twitter since 2011,
yeah.
and I've never. But also, this is the most weight I have ever gained in my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that effect too. It is. Oh my gosh, it's so much. I I'm thankful for the people who are in my life. Your Deshaun Harrison, Sid, Black Fat Queer, who I've had conversations with offline and online about fat phobia. I always knew that it was a thing.
Yeah.
I always knew it was a thing. And I was having a conversation with one of my friends not too long ago where people do little things that are fat phobic and they kind of hide it.
Yeah.
Like you'll have someone ask, send me a full body picture.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You trying to see how my fat looks. You see my face is fat, but you're trying to make sure that it is an acceptable fat for you because there's levels to it. And you hear people say that. Like you hear people say that on Twitter, they make fun of like the people who only take pictures from the neck up. That is fat phobic.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
reason why they're not posting full body pictures. We've seen so many black dark skinned fat women get terrorized. They're terrorizing Gabby today. We're posting. I think the game. Who was it? Was it the game? No, it was Twister. Twister, the rapper, posted a picture of her right next to some other slim brown skinned woman. I can't think of her name.
No, ain't Twister. Is it? No, wait a second.
Now you know fat phobia is different for men. It is different for men. It's still a thing, but it's but
Yeah.
Twister, like you fat too.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you fat too. So it's just it's been really, really bad this year.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've been wondering like what is going on. Like I've really been trying to figure out like was it this going on? Like I know it was going on, like, you know, of course. But it seems like it's just so high. Like I have dealt with it so much that people have literally taken pictures of me and posted it online as a meme, as a joke. And it's like, sis, it's not a joke. You are being fat phobic. Like you know what you're doing. You're gaslighting. You're posting this picture because you want people to make fun of my body.
Yeah. Yeah. I am interested in like the particular way this shows up in LGBT communities. Like I, as a cis hetero woman, like have always had these pressures, and I've had eating disorders and I've had body dysmorphia, but I have been really interested in like, there is something specific happening in y'all's communities that I can't, like I see it and I'm like, like what's going on there?
I've been trying to figure it out too. I've had conversations with a couple of people who've said that this has been going on since like the 90s and during the AIDS epidemic, where if you were not this shape, you were considered sick. So that has carried on. Like the desirability is very strong in the queer community, unfortunately. Like I think, like I know trans folks experience, I've seen it. I know like gay men experience gay women. And I you even see it in porn. I made mention, I've been talking about this for a while to the point that I felt more comfortable watching heterosexual porn, but I'm like, there are way more body types to me in like in heterosexual porn than it is gay porn.
Oh,
it's like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, because I was talking to my friend yesterday, I was like, when I used to watch heterosexual porn, it used to be like fat men in there, like, but when you see it, like it does not almost exist, not in the mainstream, but it is happening underground and with the amateur. So the dating thing is something that it's like it's the ugly thing in the room that we do not want to have a conversation about, because everybody has this. Where I have this is what I like. This is what I like. Like I can't think of the word for it. Like when they like one thing. Yes, they use that. They use preferences as a way to be fat phobic, to be transphobic, to be all of these things without being critiqued for it. Because it's just like, this is what I like. But my thing is, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Like this just didn't happen to you and you just decided, well, this is what I like. There's a reason why you like this. There's a reason why, like, this stuff has been played in your, like, played everywhere in visibility as far as like media, what we see on TV, what we see online, like even the magazines that we read. So it's just, you are not, I need for you to unpack why you don't like fat folks. And we know that it just does not stay in the bedroom. It goes outside of the bedroom to opportunities. Like, especially working in the HIV field, I have seen fat phobia really bad there, to the point that they don't even have fat folks in the commercials for HIV medications. Like you hardly ever see that. And when you do see a Black person, they don't even be with another Black person. So it's so much. It's so much.
No, I think it's important, like, and this is like the ongoing conversation that I have in the hetero community about, like, our preferences are political, right? Like there there are consequences for that. They don't exist in a vacuum. And like, obviously I can't force you to fuck, like, I can't force you to fuck somebody you don't want to fuck, right? Like, I can't force you to like date, like whatever. But it is useful for us to interrogate how those preferences come to be, because as you mentioned, like, we think that we can compartmentalize that. Like, we think that like we can say no fats or like no dark skins, like in my bedroom, but like out in the world, right, those people are being over incarcerated. Like, those people have unstable housing and like can't get jobs, right, and all of that.
Yeah, you see it a lot. You see it a lot, and I think, at the very least, that's what I want, is to have that conversation, because I think once you started to realize it, then you start to like do the work. I will say that's the same thing when people, and people still say this. I don't see it as much, maybe because I don't follow people who are speaking like this. I'm not in community with people who speak like this, but there are some folks who do not want to date someone who is HIV positive. They just don't want to. And I'm like, sis, you probably have already dated someone who is HIV positive and you don't know. With you saying this, they're probably not comfortable even sharing their diagnosis with you. And you probably think they ghosted, for whatever. They probably ghosted you because you have not created an environment that was safe for someone who is living with HIV. And to think that someone in a relationship, like I've been in a relationship for what, 2 years? We both gained weight. So, so am I going to leave him now because he is fat? Like, what does it look like? We need to interrogate that, and we need to think about why we don't, because this person hasn't changed. He's got weight on them. And I think a lot of people, you honestly saw this on Real Housewives of Atlanta, where Kenya gained 30 pounds, and she was struggling and having a conversation. So I wonder what is going to happen like when we're seeing all of our faves deal with them gaining weight and everybody else. Like, I wonder what is going to be the conversation going forward, because some people I don't think is going to lose this COVID weight.
Yeah. Yeah, but just the act of gaining weight doesn't like radicalize people around fat phobia. Like, I know a lot of people who gained weight during the COVID time and are still like, I hate my body, I hate myself, like, don't get like, and I'm like, you just gotta, like, I don't want to be tormented like that. I want to be free and happy and be able to love my body and have great sex and all that. And that stuff is not possible if I'm focused about the 15 pounds that I've gained over the last 10 months. I don't know what you want to do, but like, Kimberly is just gonna enjoy this shit. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that. But I've talked to a couple of fat folks who were feeling some type of way because you had so many people talk about they wanted to go to the gym because they had gained weight. Like, they don't like it. I'm just like, you're friends with fat folks, so what are you saying?
Yes.
What are you saying when I don't want to be fat? Like, I don't want to be fat. And you might use the excuse of, well, I want to be healthy, but you are going to a packed gym in the middle of a pandemic. That's not healthy.
Right.
That's not healthy at all. So it's just like, we need to interrogate that. Like, why don't you want to be fat? What's wrong with that?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I have found that like these conversations around body and fat phobia are some of the most, like, they create a firestorm. Like, there are people who just cannot even fathom a world where, when we are talking about health, when we are talking about fitness and wellness, that we are not linking it directly to body size, to fatness. Like, people like lose their shit and they're like, read this and like read this article. And like, I just posted something on the For Harry Instagram, and somebody was in my DMs like, the American Medical Association. And I'm like, where's your doctorate? Where is it?
And we know that these systems are like anti-Black. So there's been this correlation between, and folks have brought it up to me, that fat phobia is anti-Black.
Yeah.
Like, that exists. And we know that these BMIs and stuff, they're not representative of the Black body. They're not taking that into consideration at all. And I realized that when I was in the Army, because I was like 180. I think I was like 180, 190. They told me that was too big.
Wow.
Like, for 5'9", I think they wanted me to weigh at least 170 pounds. which means they had to take me to make sure that I was under the 20% for BMI. I was like, girl, this is really weird. And I'm like, I know I'm not no 20% now. So like,
And BMI is like you mentioned, is bullshit.
it is.
Like unscientific bullshit, right? Like that, like, and it's like the people who are like, science, like read this paper, like, and I'm like, but you know that that's not even science for real. So what are we even?
Yeah.
You're just, yeah. Okay, I wanted to talk about, are there ever people who say things or like criticisms or whatever where you're like, oh, like, ooh, that was right. Oh, like, oh, that's, oh, they saw it. Or sometimes like people will say things to me and I'll be like, oh, you saw that? Like you pointed out like the little thing that like I've been insecure about since I was 10, and like, oh, everybody sees that.
One of my friends did that, Deshaun. There's this thing that fat folks do, some fat folks do, that Deshaun knew. Like Deshaun knew it, and they pointed it out to me. Whenever I sit, like I pull my shirt so my rolls don't show. Like I pull on my clothes so you won't see me being fat. Or if I sit down on a couch or something and I'm being filmed, I will grab like a pillow or something because people do not want to see fat bodies. And I've been doing that for so long that I didn't realize that was a thing. Like I didn't realize, and I was like, oh my gosh. But there have been other things that I've seen people point out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think about that. I'm always blown away by folks catching something that I really haven't said anything publicly about. I'm kind of waiting for them to say something about it to see if it's like okay to have a bigger conversation about.
Yeah.
Because I want to read the room and make sure that y'all are ready for the conversation if I hop into it.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to end on like a little hot topic-y conversation. So this morning, I just decided to watch the Red Table Talk with Olivia Jade. Have you seen this?
Oh yes, I did a video about it yesterday.
Okay, first of all, we're all gammy, like, like free gammy. Like I like so.
Sis was pissed.
She was like so upset, and I just thought that the whole thing was so fascinating. Even from Jada saying that Olivia Jade reached out to them in particular, and Olivia saying, "Well, this is the only place that I feel comfortable," and I'm like, what's going on? What's going on there?
Olivia Jade has spoken with a PR team. Nobody's telling me. Like she's spoken with a PR team and they are trying to get her back to getting those Marc Jacobs, these like these big endorsement deals because sis missed out on some money.
Yeah.
She didn't even have to go to college. She was getting like endorsements that Black creators will never ever see. And I literally had this conversation yesterday. I said, do y'all know how hard it is for Black creators to have these conversations and find a brand that is like, okay, you know, you're anti-capitalist. We don't mind that. Brands are not spending money on us like that.
Yes.
And to see her come on here with them, and Jada knew what she was doing. Jada, to think that
the Smiths know good content. This is what I'm saying, right? So like Gammy had these like deeply held political convictions about don't use us as mammies. Like don't try to rehabilitate your image by using Black women as props. And Jada and whoever plans Red Table Talk was like content, okay? Engagement.
Yes.
Yes.
Money. That's it. Because I don't think that Red Table Talk has had a good year, honestly. We've not seen those viral interviews that she was, considering all of us are online and looking at a lot of content like that online. Red Table Talk should be spitting out those interviews like left and right. They should be having those conversations, but they haven't. I think it has something to do with the whole August Alsina stuff. And I think that really played into why she did this, because I felt like it was almost like an Oprah moment. Like, yes, this is a Black woman's show, this and that, but we're going to invite a white woman on here to appeal to white folks. Like we're gonna see if we get some white folks interested, because I feel like Red Table Talk was kind of Black in the beginning when it came out. It was like Black interviews, but now it is, let's provide this safe space for this white girl to come on here and we feel sorry for her. And
Yeah.
Gammy was all of us. Like, I don't care about your brand deal. She will get this. Like, honestly, Olivia can wait 3 years from now and she can write a book about this.
Olivia can wait 1 year. Like, honestly, like Gammy is completely right. Like, she's going to be completely fine. And I think the other thing about that, even about the like falsifying stuff to even get into college, is like, she would be a millionaire by herself independently of her parents because her platform was so big. So it's like, why are you doing all this just to go to school that you've already told us you don't want to go to? And like, I don't.
Yeah, when I was watching her, I was like, is this it? Like, is her getting it enough? Like, her, you know, I understand my privilege. What happens after that? You understand your privilege as a white woman. You understand. So what's next? Is that it? And I feel like,
are we redistributing wealth?
Are we making opportunities for other people who cannot get into? What is going on? And I feel like Jada was not prepared for this conversation at all. I'm honestly about to call her the hood healer, because like, Jada really thinks the content that she's making on Red Table Talk is good, but it seems like the only thing is happening is people are coming on there and redeeming themselves for stuff they've done, and they're not even getting challenged.
Yeah.
Like, they're not getting Jada. Like, I feel like at this point, Jada, just have somebody else to have this conversation so we can talk about class, so we can talk about college. This 20 minutes, like, there was so many things to talk about, and you gave her 20 minutes for her to get on there and share one tear and say, I feel bad. And I guarantee you, other people she's going to be on 60 Minutes, probably the next couple of weeks or something. She's going to be doing she'd probably be on The View a year from now or something. Like, we're going to see the redemption starting after this. I feel it already.
I mean, it just seems like, and I have to preface this by saying, I love Jada, love her, think she's great, okay, et cetera, et cetera. The politics are thin. Yes. Just a little, like, even when she was saying, well, we're Black women and people have all of these stereotypes about Black women, and I don't want to have the same stereotypes about a white girl just because she's white and privileged. And I'm like, that's not the same. Like, what are you saying right now? Like,
it's almost like she was saying. It's almost like she was saying reverse racism is the thing. She said that she didn't want to be what white women are to Black. It's like, Jada, you would never be able to do that. You would never be able to do that. You will never be able to do what white women are doing to Black women. Like, it's just impossible. Like,
and that is why we have to, like, make sure that whenever Black people are speaking, like, we also take into consideration their class position, because I do think that her being a person of enormous wealth for the past 25 years impacts her, because
for more than half her life. Like, she's been rich.
Because as she was even saying, she's like, this could have been Willow and Jaden. And Gammy was like, what? Like,
I was confused at what she said. And honestly, I'm going to be honest. I have some folks who, I'm kind of close to some people who I've had conversations with who, I'm going to go ahead and say that now. I don't care. I've had conversations with Todrick over the last year or so. And I can tell, like, he's said some problematic things and some stuff in the past and didn't understand why so many people didn't like him or didn't think he was Black. But I feel like Todrick has been rich for so long that now he is surrounded by a whole bunch of yes folks who believe the same stuff and do not challenge him. So I think I was the first person that has been in his circle who told him, like, no, girl, that's not it. Like, this is why this is not it. This is why people are saying you are not Black.
Yeah.
And I'm praying as my platform grows and everything I'm doing grows, that I never be in a situation where I'm thinking that everybody is hating on me and everybody is just jealous. I just hope I'm never surrounded by folks who don't mean me well.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is the difficult thing about getting a platform and then having your platform grow, because something I do constantly have to assess is there's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of stuff coming all the time. And so it takes a lot, and you have to be intentional about discerning what's the bullshit and like, okay, this is transphobia, this is classism, like, you're trying to couch it in something, you're trying to pretend like it's something else, right? From what stuff is actually legitimate. And like, that is, if you are not really invested in it, it's easy to just write it all off, paint it with the same brush, and just be like, haters, bye.
Somebody just come in and said, Justin, we would check you. I really believe that the folks who follow me would check me. Like I've had folks check me on some stuff. I remember earlier, I don't know if it was this year or last year, I had made a joke about it was a prison joke. Someone made a joke about somebody going to prison and having to do some stuff to get food. And I posted a meme on Instagram and somebody said, Justin, this ain't it. Like
Yeah.
this ain't it. This is, and they explained why it wasn't it. I said, you know what? You're right. And I deleted it. Like I deleted it. So it is a thing of, is this real? Is this transphobia? Is it because you just don't like me? Is it because whatever? Because I got a lot of dislikes on the video I did about the black women twerking at the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no issue. My point was that I had no issue with the black women twerking in a restaurant that's serving Ciroc slushes and Douce drinks and got DJ playing all that. And even if they were twerking on the furniture, they came off, have a conversation with them that it's not demeaning towards them for whatever culture that you don't like. So a lot of folks were like, no, they shouldn't have been twerking. You should be twerking in public. You should be doing it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, are y'all okay? Like, these folks are in a packed restaurant in a pandemic and y'all worried about them just twerking? Like, that's
Yes.
where we...
And no accountability. Like, I mean, I don't think that we need to be standing on top of tables. Like, okay, like I feel like that's my boundary. Like,
Yes.
okay. But also that man who came in as like the owner or whatever, then he started yelling and acting crazy and cussing and I'm like, well, sir, now I can't even be on your side now.
No.
You're acting like that. Yeah.
And I think like I've worked in the restaurant industry like for like a lot of part of my life. There's a way to go to a table and talk to someone and get them to like chill.
Yeah.
Like there's a way to do that, but that wasn't about that. The way he was having the conversation let me know that this is larger than them twerking on the furniture or on any of that. He said, take that type of energy, take that ghetto hood
Yeah.
somewhere else. Like this is, I want folks to come in here and dine and do this. I'm like, but these folks, you got live music. I don't go to, well, I go to brunch a lot. I don't see a lot of restaurants playing, like having a live DJ playing while I'm eating. And when they doing it, all you got is the black folks. You got, they doing the line stuff. They doing, you got the alphas doing that. Like that's the energy. Like if you want to be a brunch establishment, maybe you need to find out how to keep folks from twerking. Maybe not have a live DJ. I thought that was just really crazy. Like
it is the selective respectability for me, right? Like things are gonna get like when you put all of this stuff like in order, like things are gonna escalate. Also, he like wrote something about it on Instagram, and he was like, "They don't do this at white establishments," and I was like, "Oh, that's it." That's it.
That's what. Come on, we were looking for it. Thank you for giving us that. It would be almost like asking a bunch of men not to holler at a football bar. Yeah. Like they're watching a game. They do that. I've worked in bars where the team loses, they're going, like this is the environment. You got a TV playing. You turn the music off. You have the game playing loud over the speakers. You have now created an environment for everybody to be in this. This is the type of behavior. You know what you're doing. So, and then you got drinks going, flowing, and they do this in white establishments. There are whole white establishments that throw peanuts on the ground when they eat.
I mean, we all saw Coyote Ugly. Like, thank you so much. Okay, my last thing was going to be about Letitia Wright. I've been trying to think through how do we deal with the Letitia Wrights. Like, she's a specific case because she's a famous person. She has this huge platform. She is spreading misinformation. But I know a lot of like non-famous Letitia Wrights, and like, how do we deal with them? Like, I want to be loving. I want to be ethical, but also this shit is dangerous. And so like, we have to say something about it.
I talked about that yesterday, and I honestly unfollowed a friend on Instagram today because they had shared some misinformation about COVID vaccines. I was like, this ain't the time.
It's not the time.
It's not the time. Like, this is not the time, y'all. I think some people Letitia has already kind of shown us through the things that she was saying over the last couple months. Some of the stuff she's been saying has been questionable. Um, so I got it really kind of did not surprise me going back to seeing the other stuff she has said, and she's like a devout Christian and all that, which I don't have any problems with, but she seems far gone.
Yes.
Like,
There,
far,
there
far.
is, okay, yes, because there's a couple of, I actually unfriended somebody on Facebook. There's like a Christian fundamentalism with
Hmm.
like the luciferase thing, and it's like, are y'all, come on now, like, come on, like we get vaccines all of the time. You're taking all kinds of medicine. You have high blood pressure. You're taking medicine. You have acid reflux. You don't know what's in that shit either, right? Like,
No, even in the food that we're consuming,
yes.
even the food that we're consuming, I'm like, yo, come on now. Even the places where Black folks are growing up. When I went back home to Memphis. I went back to my grandmother's old home, and she lived in South Memphis, which is right next to a factory that is out here putting chemicals in the air. Like, I can't think of the name of the company, but that's environmental racism.
Yes.
Everybody in that was, you talking about vaccines. Can we talk about this? Because
Yes.
there's a history of a lot of Black folks who grew up in the neighborhood have asthma,
Yeah.
who have cancer. Like, there's some real stuff that is happening that you're not paying attention to. So these vaccines, I don't know, but I can understand people questioning and saying,
Absolutely.
"Hey, girl, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I got some questions," because I was one of those people too. Like, if Trump was going, if we would got the vaccines around his time, I was like, girl, no, ma'am, he politicizing this. Ain't no telling what he's doing. Like, girl, we gonna have to wait. I'm gonna wait for the
Yeah.
iOS 12 update to come out or something. But I'm following the science. I'm paying attention. I'm questioning stuff, but I'm not like putting misinformation that is easily discredited.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Black people being suspicious of healthcare institutions, of anything like institutional science or like medicine, like understandable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we should have space to ask those questions. We should have space to probe. But I definitely think that like public figures have a particular responsibility in the way that they ask those questions and who they're asking those questions to, the way that they're presenting information. Because also, like, yeah, vaccines might be, I don't know what's gonna happen with the vaccine, but niggas is dying now, right?
Yeah, they are.
Like Black people are dying all across the world. I mean, Africa's good because they don't have fucked up Western healthcare practices or whatever. But like all across the world, people of color are dying disproportionately because COVID, there's uncontrolled spread of COVID. So like
Mm-hmm.
any critique that we have to have of like getting the vaccine, we also have to have the other critique of, so are we just gonna be okay with more and more Black folks dying? Like, so I'm just like, we're not having the
Exactly.
right conversations.
And I think that when you watch the video, there was transphobia in that video as well that she shared. So I'm just like, Letitia, not only just this, but their whole, is this a free thinking you're talking about? Because it don't even sound like they even have the range to
Yeah.
even have basic conversations. So like
Yeah.
you said, if I don't have no problem with Black folks questioning things and, you know, hey, like, but for this Black celebrity to be out here just sharing the video and just with the praying hands, I'm like, girl, this is too much. This is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, somebody said, no, Africa is not good. Yes, you're right. That was oversimplistic of me. I'm saying that particularly in the United States and Western, quote unquote, Western countries, where we tout ourselves as being evolved and being, quote, developed nations and having these really robust institutions to care for people, the way that those institutions has failed is, it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So yes,
America is literally the ghetto.
yes, yes. So I definitely misspoke there. That is all I have. Thank you so
Yay!
much. This is so good.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kim. You enjoy the rest of your afternoon. I appreciate you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, let me shout out the people who bought badges. Just love _, I love me. Shout out to you, Jay Next Door, Team Staffy, Cherokee Lenny. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. That is all I have for today. Obviously, I do what I always do. Clips will go up on the Instagram. The full thing is going to go up for patrons and members. Appreciate